right, guys, I don't know if this is a good idea or not. I'll be straight up honest with you. This is day 3 of testing out the Insta360 Flow Pro, and I've got it mounted on my e-bike, and I'm really nervous about that because of its magnetic connection. But I do want to see how it works. So we're just gonna ride careful. We're not going to do any off-roading or anything like that, but we are gonna test this out to see if it'll work with the e-bike and see how its stabilization is and all that kind of crazy stuff like that. So I'm gonna flip over to horizontal here in just a minute. But I know you got to be careful with, well, I didn't know. I had it on a monopod, and one of the monopod arms was still loose, and it had a per gear tripod legs on it. And what I found out was it slammed down and it popped the phone right off the magnet. So that's what I'm worried about here, is if that will happen. I'm really not sure, but anyway. We're going to get in position here to start our run. We'll probably do 10-12 miles today. Here we go. We are in horizontal mode. I'm really nervous about this cell phone staying on the magnetic mount. This is where the Hohem, which has a permanent clamp fixture, would probably be a better option. But I don't know, and this is how you find out. But I don't want to be testing with a $1,200 cell phone and it hits the deck. Well, fortunately, I do have insurance, so if something does happen, I'll be able to get that squared away. Anyway, so here we go. We're gonna do our ride, and we will be back with you guys later on. So hang in there. Let's see how this thing does. Oh, I learned another thing yesterday, and I was having problems. Remember when I was out of celebration, that was day 1, where I couldn't get the focus to work. And it would give me this macro symbol and a landscape symbol with a line, and then when you turn on your phone, that's where you had to do your focusing from, and that was unacceptable. So I was really not happy with the unit, but it was my fault. I just didn't know the unit well enough to be able to understand all its functions. So what I found out was there's a setting in the Insta360 app where you change it to zoom wheel. Remember, there's supposed to be a zoom wheel, and that's on the side of the control panel. And I'm gonna show you that here in a minute. I'm gonna stop up here because I don't want to practice this stuff whilst I am riding. All right, I did find out that the zoom wheel will only work off the front lenses. Now, watch the zoom. But again, the zoom wheel only works with the front lenses, not the selfie lenses. So just to let you know about that. So anyway, we're gonna continue our riding and see how this all works out. So anyway, we'll be back in a bit. All right, so what I'm gonna do right now, guys, is I'm gonna set this to wide angle, which is that. No, actually, right there. Okay, and I want to go to this tree and start tracking it and see how this thing does in the tracking mode. As I'm getting the green, and it's tracking that tree. Yep. And I was all over the place on that one. Okay, and I just double hit the trigger in the back to get it to put back into place, as you can see here. And the focus wheel, I'm gonna bring this camera up so you can see it. This wheel right here. Now what it's gonna do is, and then turn this wheel back the other way and you can take it back out. And I'm taking all the way back out. So you can see the focus wheel works, and it is a setting in the application. Just change the zoom wheel and make that active. Once you hit the zoom wheel active, it'll take off the it will take off the macro to landscape slide and go into pure autofocus. And that's really, really cool, because I had to use the focus wheel, this wheel here. I was using this wheel on the side here to adjust the focus yesterday, or day before yesterday, the first day at Celebration. I was using that particular wheel to get a focus, and I was unhappy about that. I wanted the focus to be automatic. But again, it was just a setting in the Insta360 app where I changed that from that particular position to zoom. So that's what I was doing there. So we're going to continue our ride, and we'll be back in a bit. We are coming into the park. I switched to vertical. Now, and just like that, there you go. Just hit the side button twice, not side button, hit the control button on the roll panel twice, and it'll switch it around. And basically I have this in auto tracking, and I kind of like that setting. I've done the FPV, I've done the lock, and then you can see that horizontally, look at the way it's correcting itself. That's really cool. Now, I'm gonna get down here a little ways and see how this thing goes. Now, shut off tracking, and it's really hard to do on when you're riding the bike. But I'm gonna set up a good tracking point here, and I think it's gonna be that building off to my left. Let me go here. Oop, that didn't work. Yeah, it did. And we're gonna see how it does. I've set the building as the tracking point. Now I don't know what it's going to do. If I lose it, keep it. That's been my biggest problem, is actually keeping the tracking on. And there, I've lost it. Morning, guys.
How are you?
Good. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this thing up. I'll tell you, tried a new process this time. It's called Learning Together. Because, I'll tell you what, I struggled with this little gimbal, and I've worked with gimbals before. I mean, a lot. I've got one in there right now. It's an old Hohem GoPro gimbal, and it was for the session. We went out on 3 different days, 2 different locations, and 1 e-bike ride. Now, the e-bike ride, I got to be honest with you guys, that scared the heck out of me. I was afraid that magnet was going to let go and my cell phone would do a adios. But I was able to survive that. Now, I didn't do the entire ride with the gimbal connected and mounted on the bike. I got to the halfway point. I had really nothing else to say. But it did go over some of the standard bumps out there, but I would not recommend doing any jumps or anything like that. That magnet's going to let go. And so that was the case on that. But my biggest complaint right now, over all the other features within this gimbal, is the tracking. The tracking is weak. I go to walk around a place and they keep saying you walk around and then you get behind an object and then it's supposed to pick you back up again. It is really slow, or even if it does it at all. Very disappointing. I was hoping that this part of the gimbal would have performed better. Now, one of the things I found out how to do, and you have to set it up in settings, is when I had the settings the way it was set up when I got it from the factory, is that it had a macro to landscape bar. And that's how I had to focus it. So when I turned it on, it would automatically move that bar. However, I didn't have a focus wheel. The focus wheel is in settings. You can go to zoom, and it's a focus wheel at first. Then you can go to zoom wheel in settings and make this a zoom system, as you can see here, by twisting it back and forth. Let me turn this around a little bit. Okay, now as you can see here, I'm going to do it again. You zoom in, or that's zooming, you zoom out, and that's going all the way out to full wide angle or 0.05 on your lens, and then bringing it in. And all it is hitting this wheel right here. Now, once I had that setting set up and working right, that took care of one of my big complaints. I couldn't get my cell phone to automatically focus, and I couldn't get the zoom wheel to work. And that was just basically a setting inside the apps. You have to go in and activate it or enable the zoom wheel on the settings, and then you're all good to go there. So that worked out cool. All right, now with the tracking thing, I was really aggravated with the tracking. I'm still aggravated with the tracking. It will hold you, then lose you. I don't know if being vertical or horizontal has anything to do with it, but I would just walk away and it would just stop. And then I just kept walking. And then I'd have to come way back in for it to pick me up again. Now, I don't know, again, if this is a settings thing. I don't think it is. I've looked through those settings like a crazy man. And I'm not sold on this unit, guys. So anyway, to wrap this thing up, the jury, it's a hung jury, guys. It is definitely a hung jury. There's a lot of things I like about it, and if the tracking was dead on, I'd be behind this thing 100%, but it's not. And another thing I found out, which really aggravates the heck out of me, is when you're in gesture mode like this, you put your hand up and it starts recording, and you put your hand up and it stops recording, which is really cool, but it doesn't work when tracking is on. It takes the gesture control activation button that's on screen, basically. You touch your cell phone in the app, and then you activate gesture control, and then you can do it. However, you can't have tracking. Now, I did find a way to do that, but it's really stupid. What you have to do is you activate gesture control and put your hand up to start the recording. Then within that 5-second delay, reach over and pull the trigger on the gimbal, which turns the tracking off. Then it'll track and do its thing. Kind of stupid, because in post-production, I could just start recording, walk away, and post-production cut that clip out. I don't understand why gesture control and tracking can't be on at the same time. And that is really stupid. And I don't understand. And I know it's nothing I'm doing. I mean, I looked and looked and looked and looked, and I can't find anything. I looked at other videos, and they were showing, tracking, using gesture control. I don't know how they did that, because the guy went up, did this thing, and it shut off. The only thing I can figure is when he came up, he hit the trigger, and that shut the tracking off. Then he did, but that won't work. Now, once you start your recording, like I said, you wait for the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing, and then hit the tracking. Then it'll pick you up and you can track. However, it has disabled the gesture control. So you can't do that to stop recording. You have to reach in the front or on the cell phone and disengage the recording. Kind of stupid. You can tell I'm a little angry, because you're spending money for a product that claims to be the greatest in the world, and it's not. It is not doing a good job, and I'm really bending towards returning this thing, and just, I wanted it to work, but man, I can't get this thing to do what it's supposed to do. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was long, it's 3 parts. And you can see I spent an inordinate amount of time on tracking, and because that's its major shortcoming. That is it. So hey, we'll see you on the next one.